Now, yesterday, shortly after I posted the video, Israel went ahead and launched a strike on Iran, a preemptive strike to deal with their nuclear program. I told you in yesterday's video, while I've been predicting that there would be a strike on Iran, I told you I thought the Trump administration was still hoping to resolve this peacefully, and I thought they would buy a little bit more time trying to put pressure on Iran to be willing to stop enriching uranium. Well, Israel wasn't bluffing. Now we know why it had to happen. I was right about a strike coming on Iran. I was completely wrong about it being delayed until August or September. I have the guts to tell you what exactly I think. I could be wrong about that, and it could happen now. I thought they were going to give one last chance to Iran to try to settle this peaceably. I was completely wrong about that. Right about the strike on Iran. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right. That's a joke. I was right about the strike. I was wrong about the timing of it. The other thing I was wrong about is that the United States was not involved. They went ahead and let Israel do it. Trump has said that the United States would deal with Iran, and that's why I thought it would be a joint effort, because the United States has the bunker bombs necessary to be able to get the nuclear sites that are, 300 feet underground. Israel didn't have that capability. Apparently, the United States gave them that in order to carry out this operation. I thought the United States would be involved with it. Right now, they are not. They are responding, helping Israel shoot down missiles. I've been right about a lot of things. I've been 100% right about the tariffs. I was right about the bottom. I was right about the rally. I was even right about a strike coming on Iran. But I was wrong about it being delayed until August or September. Whether right or wrong, I'm always going to tell you what I think. Very few people have the guts to do that. I will always stick out my neck and tell you what I think. And if I do that, I'm not going to always be right. Most people predict things after they already happen. I try to predict things before they happen with my indicators. I'm thinking about events that can move the market up or down. When you stick your neck out, you're not going to be right all the time. You're going to make mistakes. I always tell you, I always have the courage to tell you what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking it. Now here I told you why I thought it would be delayed a little bit longer. I was wrong. Maybe this is the catalyst that gives us the pullback right here and now. Maybe part of it, as I've been saying, we can get different catalysts, top or for a pullback. I'm going to show you some charts and see what you think. I wanted to start the video off letting you know that I was wrong. And I wanted to tell you the reason why I was wrong. We previously thought that Iran was close to getting a nuclear weapon. They were much closer than we were led to believe. The news is now coming out that they were very, very close, weeks away here, getting a nuclear weapon, up to 15 of them by some reports. That's why Israel had to act immediately. We're much closer to getting a weapon than we thought. Or I should say previously thought. Now have that information. Now we know that's why Israel had to act immediately. And they couldn't delay. Israel striking nuclear sites. They took out nuclear scientists, the top commanders. So again, I've already told you, Iran's in a weakened state, getting weaker by the moment. Let's talk about a regional war is not going to happen. It's going to last a couple weeks and it's going to be over. It's not going to give us a long-term bear market. Talked about it could be associated volatility. We probably not topped. This is giving us volatility, likely a correction. If we can complete those 9 counts first or not. But this could escalate over the next couple weeks. Could have volatility surrounding this issue. Iran did respond with drones and ballistic missiles. It was not as strong as a response as they previously have done. Shows the weakening of Iran in all likelihood. Again, maybe they'll show stronger force a little bit later on. So far, a weaker response than previously seen. And that's one thing I keep saying is, was told how powerful Iran is, and again, their military capabilities, their technology is inferior to Israel's. They launched that attack on a commander, and they were able to hit his apartment building. I mean, the technology is incredible. Iran's making all these threats, just as they always do. They're not going to be successful. And previously, they had threatened to attack American military bases. But if they do that, they're going to have a high price to pay because, again, the United States isn't going to put up with that. If they don't do that, the United States will probably stay out of this. Israel will handle it if they are foolish enough to strike America. The USA, they're going to be bombed back into the Stone Age. Again, I expect this is going to go on a couple weeks and then end. It's not going to be a regional war. It's not going to be World War III, as we're being told. Israel's going to go in, deal with the issue, remove the nuclear threat. It's going to end. Again, geopolitical issues last for a while, and then again, then they go away. Now, I told you this could end up being something much, much bigger, and it still could. Markets further, but it looks like that if we get that, it's going to be the pullback rather than leg down of the bear market or the crash to kick off the bear market. If we get the sell-off, this is likely going to be associated with the pullback, the higher low scenario. Now, I do want to say this. If we do get the bigger corrective move, the bigger pullback right now, I do not believe we're starting the next leg down of the bear market, okay? I don't believe the final phase of the blow-off top is done. Getting a lower high, and so if we do get the sell-off right now, start seeing more and more selling pressure, the bears are going to get really excited, and you already have a couple of them, social media telling us, comes the next leg down of the bear crash. A bunch of them are now saying we're going to have this next leg down of the bear market. Why I disagree with that. Other bears saying this coming Monday we're going to have the Black Monday crash again, just like they told us down at the bottom. May get a pullback. I don't think Black Monday crash 25% in one day. Again, I don't think we're going to get a Black Monday crash. I don't think we're going to get the next leg down to the bear market. My signals haven't even turned bearish yet. But I do think we're going to get a pullback. Either it's starting right now or we'll bump a little bit higher and then we'll see it start. Those scenarios are still very much in play. I'm going to go long in this video because I'm going to show you some charts. Let you make up your own mind what you think. And then I'll show you some of my amazing indicators on Sunday in a shorter video for Father's Day so you can spend time with your father. Now, again, it could have been much worse. Still may get worse if we start seeing all the signals begin to turn bearish. Review the signals with you. We have divergences, so we might see the lower high scenario. We're down much further. We didn't close there, and then when the market opened, we had gone to lower levels, and we didn't close there. We've had Israel, Iran, and is now retaliating. Will probably escalate over the weekend, and we'll be watching as we go into next week. What happens. Still have potential a 9 count next week on the NASDAQ. We'll be watching that. I'll show you the chart, see where it is. Dow down 1.79%, down 770 points. The S&P dropping back below 6,000, down 68 points, down 1.13%. Again, this could have been much, much worse. Still may get worse if signals start turning bearish. They're still hanging in there for the most part. NASDAQ down 1.30%, the Russell down 1.85%, the worst of the four. X was up 15.54% to 20.82. Again, it could have been much worse. Volatility rose by more than 10%, but it could have been much, much worse. The VIX is predicting in the next 2 trading sessions, we will have an update on the S&P 500 that will produce a bounce or a bottom. 15% chance that fails, 85% chance we get the bounce or the bottom. Now the VIX got up to 22. It got up to 22. It didn't close there again. Closed just under 21 at 20.82 or whatever it was. But the VIX was up 15.54%. We're still below the 50-period moving average. Remember, last time we reached it, we got rejection at the 50-period moving average. The April bottom, we had that black candlestick. We had dropped down, dropping back below that 50 period, and we're still under it. You got a possible bottoming tail or a hanging man candlestick. You're back above the 200 period moving average. We didn't push below the lower boundary here. We did close below it one day, got back above it, and it's just been hanging out down there. Possibly you didn't see these consecutive closes holding below this level. You still may end up seeing that if we could try to rally, recover without bearish reversal of conditions. To get it on Friday, we couldn't get it. You'll see it in this video. Is this a bottoming tail and we're going to go, or is this a black candlestick hanging man and we're going to come back, fill the gap, and then get volatility? And if that happens, S&P still might go higher and the VIX might make a higher low and fill that gap, and then we get volatility and things escalating further, or whatever the catalyst may be, the Fed or tensions in the Middle East. You've got the bullish diversions here playing out with the VIX. We got the bullish diversions on the stochastic. You've got it on the MACD, but as I've said with the MACD on the S&P 500, it could still try to cross back above the signal line. The MACD here could still try to cross back below the signal line and still end up better defining the diversions if we go underneath the Bollinger Band, if we buy some time, or if you go back to fill the gap and get a higher low, and that could be a discrepancy with the S&P, where the S&P could go higher, but we don't go lower on the VIX. Great Scott, did you hear what I just said? It could be a discrepancy. We come back, we fill the gap, we get a higher low before more volatility, and we still end up seeing the S&P try to go to test the February high, still trying to go make a higher high than what we've just recently made. I'll be watching the VIX. I'll be watching the gap here now. I'll be watching this black candlestick. I'll be watching, if we're going to have volatility, you got to get back above the 50-period moving average. You're above the 50-period moving average on the VIX, bad things start happening on the S&P 500. We're not there yet. We could be, and we could get that larger pullback with the lower high scenario that I've talked about. I thought the higher high scenario would likely play out. Both scenarios are still in play at this point. I told you we had divergences on the S&P 500 and NASDAQ, but I told you they may not be done yet. Again, they may be now with the lower high scenario. See the diversions on the RSI. You could see it down here on the MACD. Now, I've talked about the MACD still possibly turning back above the signal line. It didn't do it. Still may try to do it. But again, the risk is now momentum's signals all start turning bearish. You see trend signals turn bearish, and we end up getting the sell-off, the bigger pullback right here and now. And again, rather than these highs pointing to the next high, I talked about that lower high scenario where you didn't reach the February peak and you get a lower high and a slanting, downward slanting neckline right here, where we get the right shoulder right here, right now, and it's something like that. Even deeper, if it's an unbalanced pattern where the right shoulder is deeper than the left shoulder, if that is going to be the case. So again, possible we've now peaked. We would need to see more evidence of that if that's the case. We're right here at the 10 period, just under it. NASDAQ's under it, at the cloud. We go into next week and we start seeing a sharper sell-off, then again, it's likely right shoulder. We do have the Fed meeting next week as well. We'll be watching the divergences. Are they now done? The stochastic down here rolling over. I've made this real big so you could see that we didn't get back above that signal line. We don't have to. You still have a divergence. The MACD line is still lower. It's still lower than the previous peak, but sometimes you see it end up turning back above the signal line. Still have the divergence, and it may be done, but I've talked about it possibly turning back up if we can complete those 9 counts in the weekly time frame and attempt to come back up into this level. But I have talked about both scenarios, the lower high scenario where we come up towards the February peak, but we just don't reach it, or again, still trying to come up to that level, or maybe up to the trend line right here, where I told you these highs could be pointing to the next high. I've marked it here. Again, is wave 5 now done? We get this, we have this little, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this like little ending diagonal. With that 5th wave, we still buy a little bit more time. It may be done, and that's why I put question marks here. It's may be done. I've marked this up here where I had it recently. My target level, the February high and that trend line, that was the target range. Again, still a question mark there. Are we going to reach it? So it's possible the move is done, that wave one is complete, and now starting wave two. We need to see more evidence of that. That one of those scenarios is possible. Bears are going to tell us, here comes, leg down of the bear market. Here comes Black Monday crash and all the rest of it. Again, if we've peaked here or go a little higher in peak, again, I am of the opinion you're going to get a higher low. I think this is the final phase of the blow-off top, and I think it's going to go on into summer or the fall. I think that because we had an ABC move here that's corrective, meaning you're still going to likely go make new highs. This looks like a five-leg push higher to me that may or may not be done. This is a 4, and we get a 5 still. This fifth wave, final fifth wave in wave one is not done, but regardless, looks like a 5-leg push higher. That's impulsive. The bears really got a lot of problems on us that we're going to have this crash. Right now, they're saying the same thing that they're saying down here, that we're about to crash. When I told you all the signals down here telling us we're forming a bottom, they told us this rally wasn't going to happen. Moved up about 25%, just under 25% or so, and around there, dropping 21%. From that low, we've rebounded about 25%. That rally wasn't going to happen. Again, I'm open-minded to the top being right here for the short term, but I do think it will only be an ABC correction pullback. So those are the scenarios there. If we can continue the rally, you got a shot at completing a 9 count up at this area right here in the weekly time frame with our sequence counts. I'll show you that in a second. NASDAQ 100 was down 1.29%, down 282 points. Again, you've got the divergence on the RSI. You've got the divergence on the MACD, but it didn't get back above the signal line. Does it still? We're just under the 10-period moving average. We broke that trend line. You do have the divergences in play. That, again, that could be it. Stochastic's rolling over here with its own divergence completed. So, again, you've got divergences. You now get the pullback. Again, I've talked about this, again, being an ABC, just like on the S&P we talked about it. But you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now done. Is it, kind of a ending diagonal pattern that we've now just completed, and it could be. I told you we could go up and make a new high above the February peak and hit this trend line. We have fallen short of that. We still may hit it. We have a larger ending diagonal with 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5, and then we get it. That's certainly still a possibility that we don't want to rule out. Again, I'm looking for a pullback to happen. I told you I thought we'd hit the trend line. I thought we'd make a new high. I could be completely wrong about that if we these divergences play out immediately. Remember, we got the 13 counts. We got the 13 count and the 9 count on Monday morning that prices were getting tired of the rally. Is that now beginning to play out? See those 9 counts complete in the weekly time frame. Let's take a look, but wanted to show you these counts, and again, the possibility of these inverse head and shoulders. We get the correction right now. I'd be looking for a move back towards the 50 and the 200 as they're likely going to eventually get across here, back towards the trending cloud. Please support the channel with the link directly below. That allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like the charts, you like the indicators, let me know that by supporting the channel today. If you follow the link below, it'll take you to a secured site. You can donate any amount you want or make it a recurring donation. If you do that, I thank you. I just ask that you partner with me. Most channels get sponsors and end up trying to sell you a bunch of stuff, and I don't want to do that. But I need to hear from you in order to make that work. I just ask that you just do what you can to help out. I thank you for your consideration for that. Doing another video on Sunday, showing you a few other things I'm not doing in this, showing you in this video. I'll be shorter in that video. Not to cover in this video, though. 2 things with the sell-off. We don't have a bearish reversal of conditions yet, and we don't have the momentum line turning bearish yet with the NASDAQ. We got a topping signal, which, again, is looking at momentum. Going to get a bigger sell-off. You got to get the bearish reversal of conditions. Talking about this video, and you got to see the momentum line go bearish. We don't have either. Our 9 count for next week for the NASDAQ and QQQ is still in play. Now, you do have a divergence on indicators. It may not be done yet. As I've said, we still may see the MACD try to get above the signal line. Momentum still might try to turn back up, and so might be RSI. NASDAQ daily chart here. The S&P has had a couple of warning signs. We've got a couple of topping signals for momentum. Seeing a pullback, and again, it could be a reversal or just a pullback. We got a sell signal right here, but you don't have a reversal of conditions showing you in this video, and you don't have a bearish momentum line yet. You do have the divergence on indicators. It may not be done yet. We may just get the bearish reversal of conditions on Monday. We might get the momentum line turning down on Monday. So again, be open-minded to it playing out with either a lower high or a higher high scenario from our February peak back over here. But I'm just letting you know, could have been a lot worse. They still may get worse. We still may have more volatility surrounding tensions in the Middle East, or maybe the Fed next week, or maybe both. These divergences, are they done and now starting to play out? Well, if they are, we got to see these momentum signals turn bearish. We don't have that. At least not yet. We may get it next week. Just letting you know, NASDAQ has got a shot at getting the 9 count next week, the weekly time frame. See that if you watch the video all the way through. Does the sell signal here end up giving us a bigger sell-off and end up changing momentum line from blue to red, end up getting the bearish reversal of conditions? So far we don't have it. We still don't have a shift officially with momentum. Now, when we saw Israel launch the attack, the stock market was closed. The futures started to get a bearish reversal of conditions, which didn't end up that way. We were down lower. Futures recovered. The stock market opened with the S&P and the NASDAQ, but we did not get a bearish reversal of conditions. We still may. So far, we haven't. We did get a red bar. So we're either going sideways or down. But we've got a bullish reversal of conditions with regards to momentum. I talked about a divergence developing. Now, Bitcoin's getting a lower high. It's not getting a reversal of conditions either. It still may be. See these 9 counts form in the weekly time frame. We completed bar 7 on the S&P. We completed bar 8 on the NASDAQ. Will we get the bar 9 next week on the NASDAQ? We'll have the Fed meeting next week. Tensions are continue for a couple of weeks here. Does this end up giving us the pullback and we get the lower high scenario that I've talked about? But you can see right here, again, we've come down, we've moved, we closed just below the 10-period moving average, but we didn't flip the cloud. We got a red bar, but we didn't flip the cloud yet. You do have a divergence. The stochastic rolling over, it's still above 80. It's at 81. We've got a divergence on the MACD, but the MACD did not push back above, the MACD line did not push back above the signal line. It's still below it. It's still negative. I talked about still getting that if we could try to reach the levels I've talked about. And you've got this divergence still in play here on the Awesome Oscillator. Do we still buy some more time? Do we see the 9 counts complete in the weekly time frame? Look, I'm just telling you, if we're going to get a bigger sell-off, we've got to flip momentum back to bearish, and right now you don't have that. I remove some of the indicators. You can see it a little bit better here. You can see again we're still in positive territory. We got red bars, we got a divergence. Does this start a pullback that ends up coming back and filling this gap and maybe something deeper Fibonacci retracement? Or do we buy more time again with tensions in the Middle East? It could have been much worse. May get worse. Tensions escalate over the next week or two. But watching this closely, but right now you do not have, at the close, S&P was down 1.13%, so just over 1%. It was down 68 points. We closed back below 6,000 at 59.77 for the close, and you're below the 10 period, but you don't have a bearish reversal of conditions yet. When that happens, that means that you have a shift in momentum to the downside. You still have bullish momentum as far as the cloud is concerned here. Let me bring up the NASDAQ, and let me bring up the RSI right here. Again, you do have this divergence on the RSI. You've got it on both the S&P and the NASDAQ. You got the divergence on the MACD, but we didn't see the signal line cross back above, or the MACD line cross back above the signal line. You still may get it if you don't get the reversal of conditions. You have tensions heat up over the weekend and come back, and you might get the bearish reversal of conditions come Monday. But again, you've got these divergences. That could produce a top. I've talked about that possibility with setting up a lower high. Told you, again, I thought we would still make the higher high scenario. I warned you, I could be wrong about that, and we could get the lower high because we got these divergences that have formed. I told you they may not be done yet. Still may not be done. We still may get another reference point of a divergence on the RSI. We still may try to turn back up. We'll see what happens because we still have a bullish reversal of conditions. So here on the NASDAQ, going to be watching if we hold below the 10 period. S&P slightly breached it. NASDAQ's under it here. We at the lows of the session came and tagged the lower boundary of the cloud, but we didn't close there. You had to close below the lower boundary of the cloud to flip momentum, officially flip momentum. We still may do it. So keep that in mind. Again, this could be the catalyst now that ends up giving us the pullback, but rather than a higher high scenario, it could be a lower high scenario. And I've talked about both of those scenarios at great length and detail. But we could see the bearish reversal of conditions come Monday. Tensions heat up over the weekend, and we see futures open lower on Sunday when they reopen. We've got the 50 coming back up towards the 200. I told you eventually you're going to get a bullish golden cross. Could pull back to the moving averages as that happens right here and now. Go higher, get the bullish cross, and then pull back to the 200 later. But I do think you're going to fill these gaps in all likelihood. Eventually going to do it. Either we're starting to do that right now, this gap right here. We're starting to do that right now. It'll go a little bit higher, but this could be the catalyst now. It gives us the larger pullback that I've been warning about. That's going to be the case. If we're going to get the bigger sell-off right now, you've got to get a bearish reversal of conditions right now. Friday's close, we don't have that. You know, when I called the bottom, we were hitting major support levels. We were hitting extreme readings, single digits on market breadth indicators, the fear greed index was in single digits, and we were hitting trend lines. And I talked about all of this down at the bottom. I told you we were going to bottom with the tariffs. I told you this count was forming, and I talked about this down at the bottom. Count. I've been talking about the 9 count developing. This is the NASDAQ. This is QQQ, the NASDAQ 100 ETF QQQ, talking about completing a 9 count here. Now we've got those 13 counts already in the daily time frame in S&P. NASDAQ got it, and again, they both completed 9 counts as well. NASDAQ the same bar as the 13. Eventually, I think we're coming back to fill the gap over here, and whoops, wrong line there. And again, test these 50 period moving averages. Can we see the 9 count complete? Can we rally further to test the February high and possibly go above it? We are within striking distance. Momentum signals all begin to change. If we start seeing trend signals change, then you're going to get the pullback right here now. Again, we've got the possible inverse head and shoulders. Maybe we go a little higher if we don't see signals change and get it, or we get it right here, right now. If you get it right here, right now, rather than this neckline from the previous highs pointing to the next high, then you have, again, possibly a neckline that is sloping downward. Certainly possible for that lower high scenario that I was talking about. Don't know scenario will end up playing out. If my signals start turning bearish, then I might get the sell-off. It's still possible, though, next week with the Fed or things calm down, or if the market just shrugs off tensions in the Middle East, we still might end up getting the 9 count. Now, you got to be above the bar from 4 bars ago. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we close above this bar right here, even if it's a downward bar, you'll still have the 9 count. If we close below that level, the count will be canceled out. Times counts get canceled out. Up here, we only got up to bar 7, and it was canceled out. We went sideways, and eventually we had a 9 count just before that. Eventually, the previous 9 count ended up playing out, but we ended up going a little higher. Here you had the 8 bar. The 8 bar was the low of the count. We completed the 9 count, but it was a higher low. The 8 bar being the low of the count. Do we see 9 count? Now, we could still get the 9 count and not reach this level. Again, the 8 bar is the high of the count. You still may end up getting it. 8 bar is the highest bar so far. Bar does 8 or 9 have to be the high of the count. here or here in the downward trend, the 8 or 9 bar had to be the low of the count. Here, 8 bar was the low of the count. Perfected bullish signal, a reversal signal. So I'll be watching to see what becomes of this count on the NASDAQ. Does it get canceled out? Does it play out? Do we end up going higher and getting the 9 count being the high of the count, and the market just shrugs things off and tries to complete it? Or do we end up selling off and getting a sharp sell-off and we don't complete the count? Watching that very closely. NASDAQ weekly chart here with QQQ. You know, we got the 13 count. I told you we might go a little higher and start to turn. Might try to complete that 9 count next week on the weekly chart and still go to the trend lines I've talked about, at least test the highs. If we start seeing signals turn bearish, then again, this count right here in the daily time frame is likely going to play out. You've got the 9 followed by the 13. We went a little bit higher than the 9. I talked about that possibility going a little bit further to the February high or the trend line from these previous highs. We weren't able to make it. We fell short of the February high. We fell short of the trend line from the December and February high. That's all she wrote. We're still within striking distance, but this count could give us a reversal. Eventually, I think that 50 gets back above the 200, but we could be starting the corrective move right now. Certainly possible. Certainly don't want to rule that out. And tensions could escalate. I've said we still may see all this concern about this escalating into a regional war, which I do not believe is going to happen. You got a bunch of people that think that that could possibly happen. So who knows? We'll see what happens here. 13 count give us a reversal, or do we still try to go just a little bit higher and get that 9 count? Those 9 counts in the weekly time frame may get canceled out. This is the NASDAQ daily chart here, representing NASDAQ 100 QQQ, the QQQ ETF. We had that 13 count on the Russell. We hit the 200, tried to get above it. We got rejection. So is it done now? I think that the Russell has a 5-leg push lower, and I think it's getting an ABC move. And if A is done, then we'd be getting B and then go on and get C. I think the S&P and NASDAQ are still going to move to new highs eventually. The Russell got the 913. Went a little bit higher. Now we're seeing this volatility. Do we still go a little higher? Is that all she wrote? Because we still have the NASDAQ potentially getting a 9 count, but it was canceled out. The 9 count was completely canceled out this week on the Russell. Could that be sending a message? Russell got rejection at the 200. Russell got rejection at the 50-period moving average. Again, I think this is an A. Maybe it's done now, and we get a B, and then we go on and get a C up here and make a lower high. And I think that we'll far with that, but again, you could see an ABC move is what I'm looking for a lower high. I think that's when S&P and NASDAQ will eventually peak. But we had a 9 count at the bottom. We had a 13 count at the top. We tried to get a 7 of a 9 this week, and it got canceled out because we closed below the bar from 4 bars ago. 1, 2, 3, 4. We closed below that bar right there. That cancels out the count. I may try to get above that if we could try to rally. But again, do we end up seeing more selling come Monday if things heat up over the weekend with tensions in the Middle East? The Dow canceled out its count, closing below the bar from 4 bars ago. It's just above the 50. The Russell got rejection at the 50. But again, we got a 1 of a 9 to the downside now. The 6 was followed by the 7 bar that has now been canceled out, closing below the bar from 4 bars ago. It's up here. We only got up to bar 6, and it got canceled out. Tried it again, and we got up to bar 5. So again, are pointing to when price is trending. When we were turning down, we ended up completing the 9 count at the bottom. But the Dow and the Russell canceling the 9 counts out in the weekly time frame. The Dow weekly chart here. The Dow in the daily time frame almost completed a 9 count, didn't do it, only got to bar 8. And today, on Friday, Friday the 13th, boy, what a day for the strike, Friday the 13th. We got up to bar 13, got to an 8 bar here for the 9 count. We could have had a double sequence count reversal signal, didn't get it. Count get canceled out, closing below the bar from 4 bars ago. Got your 13, you went a little bit higher. So again, we could still begin a bigger correction. Notice the S&P and the NASDAQ moved well above their 200, and yet the Dow is struggling at the 200, got above it, dropped below it, and so is the Russell. 200 period here in the daily time frame. We got these 50 periods below the 200. So we'll see if the correction starts right now. These 13 counts that we got it on the Russell, we got it on the Dow, we got it on the S&P, we got it on the NASDAQ in these daily time frames. NVIDIA, we saw NVIDIA get a 9.9 signal, went a little bit higher, and then now it's kind of going sideways. Daily chart of NVIDIA here, I think you're going to get that 50 getting back above the 200, but do we pull back to these moving averages right now, go a little higher, and then pull back? But I do think we're going to have a pullback, and it could be starting right now. NASDAQ still has the 9 count in play. So does NVIDIA. We got bar 8. If we got to be able to close above the bar from 4 bars ago. 1, 2, 3, 4. So as long as you don't close below this bar right here, NVIDIA could still complete that 9 count. The 9 count does not have to be the high of the count because bar 8 is the high of the count. Again, we're not reaching these levels. Here, zoom out here, the last couple of 9 counts that have formed have marked turning points. Here with a lower high, the 8 bar was the high of the count. Here the 9 bar was the high of the count. Marking this sell-off, this 9 count marked this sell-off. Do we see that complete again? Or is the count, does it end up getting canceled out? Down here when we were selling off, we only got to bar 7. We never did complete a 9 count here. Do we see that happen here? Or do we complete it and it ends up marking a reversal like these other 2 peaks? Weekly chart has that 9 count still in play. Now, while the Dow and the Russell had bar 7, they canceled out. While they canceled out their counts by closing below the bar from 4 weeks ago, the S&P weekly chart did not do that. The S&P still got the 7 count, so it's still in play. If the rally can somehow continue, bar 8 could be the high of the count. You could get that bar 9 on the NASDAQ and on NVIDIA. Watching, again, I've talked about the S&P trying to reach this level or at least testing this high. And again, I told you we could still get the lower high scenario because divergences were already formed, I should say. I talked about still trying to reach this level. Again, this count still may end up getting canceled out like the Dow and the Russell, but you still have it in play. We're still, even though we had a down week, you're still above the bar from 4 weeks ago. Next week, we would have to be above 1, 2, 3, 4. We'd have to be able to above this bar right here. Even if you sell off, you can still get bar 8 of the 9 count. And then, again, 2 weeks. We need 2 more weeks of continuing to try to rally to get your 9 count completed here. Whether it can complete or not, we'll see what happens. It was a 9 count. Again, the 8 bar that marked the bottom over here. Sometimes these counts can mark turning points, but sometimes they don't complete. Started going sideways at the highs. You had a 6 count that didn't complete. We tried it again. You got to bar 5, did not complete. If you don't go up to this level, you could still get the downward sloping trend line that I've talked about. And again, it may be like that where you have the left shoulder, the head, and we do this. And we come back, fill the gap, and we get a Fibonacci retracement. We see something like that. Certainly possible. I don't know that this count completes. It may not. I'm just letting you know it's there. Like I told you about the 9 count at the bottom. It was one of the reasons why I thought we'd bottom with the tariffs. I told you we were going into bar 8. And again, I always talk about how bar 8 or 9 could be the reversal bar. So here you have bar 7 still in play. The Dow and the Russell have canceled out bar 7 in the weekly time frame. P may do it too if we start getting sell signals, reversal of conditions. So far, we're getting something similar to what we had at the December top. We had a 13 fall by 9, went just a little bit higher for a couple days, and then we began to get some selling pressure. Now we did go sideways there. Here we get the 13 fall by the 9 back to back. The previous Friday on 13, and then this last Monday to start the week off, we got the 9 count, went a little bit higher, and now you're getting this sell-off. These signals turn bearish if this is going to produce a reversal, bigger pullback. If momentum and trend signals all begin to turn bearish, you're going to get the bigger pullback right now, bigger than what we've seen. Now, it may be the bigger pullback isn't so big. Just be a more shallow retracement, a shallow Fibonacci retracement. Talked about that at great length and detail. So far, again, got the 13.9, bumped up a little bit higher, didn't move above the February peak over here, and didn't reach the trend line. So again, I talked about lower high scenario if we turn immediately with these counts, or the higher high scenario if we buy a little bit more time and try to complete the counts in the weekly time frame. Counts may override the weekly charts and end up playing out. Be looking for clues.